Here we go.
Here we go. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Bolton.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I just have to find the agenda here. I got it. First of all, we're going to approve the minutes of prior meetings, the first of which is the Select Board Budget Committee / Bond Work Session of January 25th. Looks like we were all there. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
By John, second by Bill. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then the next is January 25th, non-public work session.
Move that we accept those minutes as written.
Motion by Bill, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have the regular board meeting minutes of January 25th, which I believe included the public hearing on the municipal budget and our proposed bond / loan, and includes a summary of all of the discussion that occurred during that meeting. Do we have a motion on those minutes?
So moved.
We have competing motions, but Bill didn't actually say
No,
anything,
it's just
so I'll take yours as a
vocalize.
second. Motion by John, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of that. The announcements, we will meet on the following dates. February 22nd and March 14th. Work review sessions are, as always, at 5 o'clock prior to the regular meeting. We are going to have a public hearing during the regular Select Board meeting Monday, February 22nd, to discuss the skateboard park, the proposed donation of the skateboard park to the town. And the town offices will be closed February 15th in observance of President's Day. All of these meetings will be held here unless otherwise noted. Weather observations for the month of January are available in the town hall, and anyone wishing to be listed on the agenda should notify the town hall before noon on the Friday before the scheduled meeting. And the next agenda item here is regarding the appointment of Mary Nelson as additional deputy treasurer. What is that? Do we have somebody here to deal with that, or is that?
Carol Garrity's assistant.
You should have had a letter in your.
Oh, right.
Oh, is there?
letter inside your folder.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, I probably have it, I just didn't,
Go ahead and use that.
All right.
And get it in.
So we have a letter here to us from Carol Garrity, dated February 4th, which says, "I would like to acquire an additional deputy treasurer for the town of Plymouth. My deputy now is Susan Jane Clay. She will still be available, but may be thinking of cutting back. After speaking with our accountant, he informed me that I could have multiple deputies. Therefore, I am asking to appoint Mary Nelson as a deputy treasurer. Sincerely, Carol Garrity." Yes, Paul?
I agree with the whole letter, and I know that you can have multiple deputies, and I believe we all know Mary Nelson, if Carol's comfortable with her.
Is that a paid position? Do you know?
There's a minimal amount in the budget for deputy.
There's not a lot of,
Yeah, so she would be,
there'll be some kind of compensation.
but it would be, probably there's some amount in the budget, and that amount would not be exceeded by the two of them.
No, right, and that's, I think that's what Carol's saying. The money's there, but instead of one person working off that line, there'll be two people working off that line. So we're not increasing anything.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Do we have a motion to approve Carol's request to appoint Mary Nelson as a second deputy treasurer?
I would move that.
Bill will move that. Neil will second it. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's done. And then, moving right along, we have Chris Wood, I think, and Jason, maybe, Jason Randall from Water and Sewer. Can would you guys like to maybe come up front? And if you'd like to sit at the table, yeah, I was gonna say grab another chair. So, Jason, I don't think I've met before, but I'm Mike Conklin. Nice to meet you, Jason. Oh, we have one, sorry.
I've been in the seat before.
Oh, okay, I just didn't remember.
Hi. Just like this. Update everyone, pass them out a map here. And this map depicts the project area highlighted.
Okay.
Yellow. And current sewer is in green and the stormwater is in blue. So as you can see there, it's quite the intricate area.
So wait a
for our
minute, the
South Main Street project.
stormwater is blue. So, just for the folks at home, do you want to just explain briefly what it is we're looking at and what you're talking about doing?
Well,
Chris?
the replacement of the water and sewer main on South Main Street is a priority project for the Water and Sewer District.
Yeah.
As a result of our
Master plan.
master plan, yes, thank you. And so we have funding and we're anxious to move ahead with this. And, you know, we're hoping, as we were here previously, to work with you all to be able to separate out stormwater. And obviously it makes a lot of sense that we do that at the same time. There's a huge cost savings for
So-
both of us.
So you are proposing to replace the water and sewer
Yes.
all the way down South Main Street from where on the north? From Highland Street?
I believe.
Is it?
From, the common, right
All the way
south, all
down.
the way down to Warren, to the intersection of Winter.
So up Warren a little bit?
Yep.
Okay.
First block.
And this is going to involve digging up all of Main Street?
Correct.
South Main Street?
Yep.
And you said you have funding for this. Is there a schedule or an anticipated construction period? Do we know
Not at
yet?
the moment. I mean, we have, we're still at the preliminary study phase of things,
Okay.
but,
We have applied for a pre-planning grant
Right.
through our engineer, Wright Pierce.
Okay.
And once we receive notification this spring that we have received that, that will provide additional funding for our engineer to be meeting with the town and DOT and all the parties that would be involved, businesses, obviously multiple businesses. Because it is a concrete road base, DOT will be heavily involved. There's right-of-way issues. There's a bunch of things that come into play for this section of town, which is pertinent for all of the parties to be involved in.
and probably more than a few unknowns as far as what's under.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the major concern for the town's end is the stormwater collection system in that area. In the past, there's been smoke testing done, and they have identified up to 12 locations that would be possibly interconnected with the sewer system.
So, so an engineering firm has done that?
Granite State Rural Water Association has assisted Plymouth Village
And
with
when,
that.
how long ago was that done?
That was
You know?
done probably about 8 years ago.
And when you say that they, I'm just trying to understand this a little bit. When you say that they identified as many as a dozen, did you say?
Yeah.
Places where the, what, the
The
stormwater?
stormwater infrastructure was interconnected with the sewer system.
All right, so, and it's
Yeah.
like intentionally was interconnected at some point?
At some point it was, but our regulations and EPA regulations require complete separation.
Have they identified the dozen or so spots where this occurred?
Yep,
And do you have that information?
correct.
And you could give it to us?
Mhm.
Okay.
I
And
have
the-
provided it to Brian Murphy in the past, as well as Tom Morrison, because it was considered a health hazard to have sewer interconnected with stormwater. Potentially, there was roof drains involved, floor drains of buildings involved, that could potentially pass hazardous sewer gases into them, so that the town has been notified of that.
So now, when you say there's a dozen, are there, some of these are private properties where there's an interconnection?
Correct.
Are they?
There's potentially more than that, is what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah.
well, we have.
Of the 12,
Yeah,
have been identified for stormwater catch basin connections.
And there's possibly, what, 16 or so in the South Main stretch of total storm drains. So a large number of them.
so you're saying 12 of the 16 storm drains may be connected?
Correct.
And of those 12, do you know how many are on private or are involved with private property as opposed to a town?
Nope, the 12 would be catch basins, strictly catch basins, which would be fall under the town's jurisdiction. Above and beyond that, what Chris is saying, there's potentially more, including businesses.
Okay. But I thought you said there was a total of 16.
Well, consider that a rough number, yeah.
So a total of 16 places where any kind of stormwater merges with the sewer, is that what we're saying? As a
No,
guess.
16 catch basins and on the South Main Street.
All right, so in addition to the 16 catch basins, there would be any
Yeah, I guess
private properties?
that's a question that Jason would have to answer is, you know,
Right, and of those
The difference-
additionals, we're not sure how many were followed up on in the past and how many are still existing. So that would be the potential there for additional testing. Like I mentioned, once we get the pre-planning grant
Yeah.
funding, we can go in and do additional smoke testing or dye testing at those locations.
So I think what you're telling us is that when you do your project, you want us to separate out whatever storm drains we have that are still connected, right?
yes,
Correct.
yes.
Essentially, once we go back in and lay new sewer line, that sewer line will be bypassing any old connecting structures
Yeah.
for the stormwater infrastructure, which will essentially have nowhere to go. The outfalls would be somewhere under the street or under the sides of buildings or things of that nature. So without proper outfall to the river, they'll be left potentially causing additional harm to properties and infrastructure.
Yeah. So, and now I'm wondering what the schedule is again, because of course this isn't something that's in our budget and we have no idea how much money we're talking about, right?
It's true.
Correct.
So, are you thinking this is a year, 2 years, 3 years, or is there, when would
Presumably,
you
the
like
study
to?
would be this summer, right? And
1 to 2 years, so essentially, yep, we would complete the design and study this year,
Yeah.
possibly construction next year.
So if your engineers do their study this year, are they going to more firmly establish where these interconnections might exist? Or
Sure.
do exist, I should
Yep.
say? And so there'll be a time at which you'll be able to come to us probably and say, this is where the issues are, right? Okay.
I have some questions.
Yeah, I didn't mean to
that's all right.
monopolize the discussion here, but I think I've got the idea, so, yeah.
At what point in time did water and sewer receive a mandate to separate stormwater and sewer?
I'm not sure exactly when that occurred, but if you refer to the Plymouth Village Sewer Use Ordinance, Section 2, General Sewer Use Requirements, 2.1, the use of public sewers, Section E, states that no sanitary sewer shall be used to receive or convey or dispose of any storm or surface water, subsoil drainage, or unpolluted water. So it is in this was a 2007 revision, the last revision of our sewer use
So
ordinance.
prior to 2007, that wasn't in there?
I'm not certain on that, but this is the latest revision, which includes it.
It could have been in there
But-
before that.
It could have been, yes.
I wanted to know when the Water and Sewer Department installed their storm drain system. At what point in time they separated sewer from storm?
I know there was a large separation, I believe 98% was separated back in the early 90s. I think that was I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was a stipulation of our plant upgrade in 1991.
That might have been right about the time that Tenny Mountain put their sewer line in.
Yep, late 80s, early 90s.
And when did the town assume the responsibility for storm drain water?
As far as I know, it was always assumed.
It was just an earlier practice to
Can you get,
connect it as
can you
however
get-
easy.
can you get answers to those questions?
I may be able to
Yeah,
find
A
answers.
little research?
Sure. I know a lot of the old storm lines that are currently existing in town now were once abandoned sewer lines that have been taken over by the highway department to use as storm drainage. And I believe a lot in this existing area was the same.
I'd really like to know the answers to those questions.
So what is it again? When was the
I'd like to know
mandate
when the mandate
went into place?
was put on water and sewer to separate. And I'd like to know when the Water and Sewer Department did their major separation of
Is that
storm
sort
drains and
of just
sewer.
a matter of curiosity?
No.
Or
No.
how does it impact?
No, I want to know when the town became responsible for that storm drain system. And what the town, what encompassed the responsibility of the town. I mean, when the town assumed responsibility of the storm drain system, was it
I think I'm understanding.
the complete responsibility for the whole town, or was it just certain pipes?
So you're saying, maybe, you see, I don't understand the history of this at all, but there was a time at which all of the water went into the sewer system.
Right,
And at the time, it all would have been the responsibility of water and sewer, I
right.
suppose. And so at some point, and you would like to know when, there was a separation of these responsibilities. Right. Okay.
And when the town accepted responsibility, and what did they accept responsibility for?
Yeah, so you're wondering, how did that occur, and what,
Right.
was there something in writing, I guess?
Yeah.
And
Did they take over certain lines, or did they take over the entire jurisdiction of all stormwater?
Well, and obviously, there was no separation done at the time, whenever this was, I guess.
Correct.
Well, there was,
Whether this particular section,
yeah.
correct.
I have another, are you,
No, it's okay.
this whole Northern Pass thing, our friends from Eversource are talking about bringing their line right down Main Street, I guess.
But-
What about that?
I guess we've heard that they're talking about doing a really narrow trench, right, that may not be.
Don't they have the same issue with this concrete thing, though, that the state says you touch it, you take it out?
One would think so, yeah, but I guess that's
God only knows, huh?
right. And
But-
of course, there's the timing of it too. Can we, we're really, it's kind of difficult for us to plan when we don't know when that's going to
Right.
occur.
But I mean, that could create another whole mess, in theory, I suppose. If you're gonna dig up the whole road, and then they're gonna come by a year later and dig up the whole road, that would, I mean, I'm just wondering if there's some kind of coordination to
Right,
be done if that's going
That's
to
what the
happen.
pre-planning grant will allow us to do, is to be able to sit down with meetings with engineers and go over such topics like that. But I guess what we're trying to accomplish this evening is to find out if the town will be indeed partnering with us on this project, so that we can include you folks in the next level of design.
Well, I think, well, I suppose, depending on what the answers are to Neil's question, how that might impact it, I think our thought is that we recognize that when the time comes, we're gonna have to separate our lines out. But I think we need to know reasonably well in advance, so we can budget for what that would consist of and how much it's gonna cost, So it would be helpful to have whatever engineering is available to help us identify those spots, I guess, know what we're talking about, and then we'd give it to Joe and have Joe, go out there and take a look and find out what he thinks might be involved. But yeah, I think we need the engineering work, and I think we need probably at least a year or two to budget. And of course, if we're talking about 20 connections or something like that and a ton of money, we're pretty strapped as it is. I mean, we struggle every year to make ends meet. And this is not on our list of priorities in terms of problems that we have in town. I mean, it hasn't been a problem until
Right,
recently.
not a problem for you folks, but it is a priority for water and sewer. Particularly the reasoning that Chris mentioned for a water master plan. This particular water main was identified largely because of a hydraulic deficiency in the area, which is a safety issue.
It's just not enough,
So-
there's not the capacity there that there should be, so that's an important issue.
You mean there's not enough water available on South Main Street for the demand in generally?
Or if there were
Correct.
fire, yes, for
I see,
example.
yeah.
Correct. So it is a high priority for the whole town. This affects the whole town, not just water and sewer, and not just, storm drain and infrastructure like that. That's an additional to the project. While we're in the ground, we have to look at that. We really can't turn our heads and say that this is not gonna be a problem, because you don't know what you're gonna run into. And if something we do run into major, we need to make sure that the town has the available funding and personnel and so on and so forth to accomplish what they need to do to separate the sewer from the stormwater.
I get, you're looking for some grant money for this, I imagine, right?
Well, this is
Hoping for,
Yep.
praying for.
We do have the funding currently budgeted this year for pretty much the whole project for the sewer and water side. We were hoping that we could jump on this, but we do realize that it does take more than the funding. It takes the planning is the most important part of this project. And for us to be able to have the assistance of the town in separating the stormwater from the sewer is pretty much imperative. There's no way around it. Like I said, if you separate the sewer from the existing stormwater now and bypass it, there's nowhere for it to go.
you could end up with a lot of pieces of pipe.
Well, you'd be in a mess if you, put in new water and sewer and let the drainage go all, I mean,
Absolutely,
yeah, we'd be in court probably or something.
absolutely. That's why we need to work with you guys.
Yes.
There's no way around it.
Do you, Paul has a question, but I have one more first. Do you have an estimated expense for this thing right now? Or when you say it's budgeted, are we talking about, like $2 million?
It's a $2 million project on just the water and sewer side alone. That's assuming full roadbed reconstruction and the whole restoration of what we'd have to dig up.
Paul?
That was my question, but.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll add to it.
You must have-
No,
Yep.
did you also say that you had the funds for it
Correct.
already?
Yes.
So you have the $2 million?
No, we have half of the $2 million. The other half, it'll be coming up at district meeting as a warrant article.
So you're going for another $1 million,
Correct.
4 weeks from now,
Yes.
this March.
Correct.
Yes.
So you will, if it passes,
Yeah,
you will
if it
have,
passes,
you'll have
correct.
your $2 million.
Well, we won't have our money. Just FYI. Because,
Let me continue then, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
yeah.
Because I did tell this to the director, and I believe Jason and Chris would know that we too have a $2 million loan that we're going for. And within that $2 million, we do have some money that we would be putting towards drainage. And when we had a dollar amount, we would be putting, if that became the priority, we would earmark that money
And
for
we're
some of
not-
the responsibilities.
And we're not gonna know
so-
that till
Hmm?
later in the year.
No, right, and we can't add to that amount. We could in next year's budget, but there is some drainage money within that $2 million that should our warrant also pass. There's at least a start.
Absolutely.
yeah, that wasn't where it was anticipated to go, but that might, I guess we're accustomed to.
Well, it's no
Other
different when we say
priorities
we're gonna do a road and then we start digging into it like we did with Langdon Street and find out that the
Yeah.
whole infrastructure underneath it is gone. Well,
Right.
the money comes from another road that we're not gonna get done that year.
So for starters, I think it would probably be helpful to have whatever preliminary engineering you have that will show us where those spots are, because well, or maybe Brian has it. Did you say
I
Brian has
sent
it?
the report to Brian, correct? But I can resend it to Paul as well, and he can pass
Yeah,
it on.
maybe that would be helpful if we have is it electronic and?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there any, I guess there's not a guesstimate on what the town's cost would be,
At this time, no,
right? And I think that's what we need.
because we're really not familiar with the stormwater infrastructure in that area, other than what we have found that is connected. So we wouldn't know additionally what it would take beyond that disconnect. And, is there any other questions?
Well, when I look at your map on South, I guess, am I on the east side of South Main Street? I only see,
Yep.
I don't see many blue dots.
There are additional dots that aren't on there. This is only
Okay.
stuff that we had previously in our database, but there is also additional locations beyond this.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm sorry if I monopolized the discussion there.
No, you covered it all.
I doubt that.
So you anticipate that you're gonna have your engineers start working on design
Correct. Yep.
after your meeting? Or
We
or
do
now,
have
or-
some, we have a pre-planning grant, like I said, applied for currently, so we should be hearing that, back from that in about a month, which will be right in the March timeframe to start the design.
And we're
Just a
pretty
little-
comfortable
yeah.
we're gonna get that grant, so I know that
Yep.
we'll be
Just,
moving ahead.
I guess this was a question I asked before, and I don't know if I quite got it. Are you it sounds like you're not looking for a grant to match any portion of the construction, that the 2 million is gonna be, or did I?
For their
No, I mean,
purposes.
that's a loan. We're
Yep,
doing that by a loan.
we would look for UA rural development funding to assist in offsetting a portion of that.
Okay, so you're gonna raise and appropriate the 2 million and hopefully offset it with some
Correct.
grant money if possible?
Correct.
And do you have any idea, if you get it, is that a 50% or a?
Most of the ones that we have applied for currently and have obtained were right around 50%. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Paul?
Will you be impacting the sidewalks? I know we had talked about them.
Yep.
There would be.
Yep.
Is that
On one
included,
side, or-
is that included in the 2 million of your
Yes.
cost?
Yep. The way we had it originally cost was for us to do the water, sewer, and restoration work, whichever need be. Because as we met before, previously in December, DOT said they wouldn't be interested in being involved in it. And that's when we'd started the discussion with the selectmen here on this project.
I'm only asking to see how much we would have to come up with sidewalks too, but we just talking the sewer connections.
And we also proposed, to have you folks involved in possibly redesigning that section of road because of some of the constraints, the narrowing, the dog leg, other ergonomic
The dog
design. If you
Down by
come-
the monkey and,
Yeah.
and south of that. But with that just saying, did your engineers come up with a solution? Because
Not for that, no.
because
We
we
just,
couldn't, I mean, we looked and our engineer looked.
we just had it at cost estimate based on reconstructing as existing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because without moving buildings, we didn't see that much space that we were going to gain
Yeah.
on the width of Main Street.
Yeah.
At least in the mind of our engineer, wherever.
Yeah. And
The
we-
sidewalk goes right up against the buildings, and we all know.
Right.
And the sidewalk plow needs X amount of feet to be able to plow the sidewalks.
There's never gonna be room for a bicycle lane.
So-
Yep, so if that's off the table, then that's, essentially, we can look past that and focus on.
Well, I just didn't know if your engineers came up with some kind of solution that ours didn't see, or.
No,
Neil?
Are the individual property owners responsible for tying in their connections?
if they would like a brand-new connection, yes, we would do it we would reconnect to the curb. If they want to take it further, they would have that option at that time.
Anybody else?
And I'd just like to reiterate something that Neil had actually brought up at our meeting, water and sewer meeting as well, that we put out a 5-year CIP master plan to let you folks know what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, what we're planning on doing based on our priority list. We would very much likely have in return the same to know so that we can plan with the town on projects such as this. It's a very important thing to be able to work together. And that's where I want to stress that point.
Okay. Well, thank you, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
Glad you came in.
Right,
Yep.
yes. Yep.
Thanks. Chief Clogston,
No, I might have it.
Evening.
under the category of new purchase orders,
Yes,
what would you like to talk to us about?
you should have a purchase order in front of you
But I thought
for
I'd give you the,
Bergeron Protective Clothing. They're the suppliers that manufacture the structural firefighting gear that the members wear. And we're pretty much in the last phase of, our stuff became, it's got a 10-year shelf life, whether it's on a shelf or on someone's back. And our gear that we got 10 years ago through a grant, now it came up. So we've been doing this replacement throughout the last 3 years. And this purchase order is for 3 sets of gear that we want to buy. They're right around $2,000 a set.
so just, I'm curious, what is this?
It's, you know, the heavy coats and whatnot that you see them wearing
Oh, okay.
off fire trucks, it's that.
You can walk into a fire with this stuff on?
Yes, you can. And it's,
So this is in your budget and?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in the budget, it's part of a replenishment program. If we were
So-
gonna try to do it all at once, it would be a
How many
huge
will
hit.
you have altogether?
Currently,
Yeah, with these,
our plan was for 15 sets. Like I said, I believe this is the last year of that. But as we get new employees in, or if we get one that's torn, we always have money in the budget to replace one if need be. We always send them out to get repaired if they can be, if not, or
they last 10 years.
that's the shelf life of them. We have seen that, yes, all the stuff that we're replacing has been working good for us for 10 years. And Globe does a real good job, and as they're a New Hampshire-based company, if we ever have an issue, it's a quick phone call, and we got somebody right there to pick it up, take a look, and take care of it right there.
Anything else? So we have a purchase order here for 3 Globe G Extreme jackets and 3 Globe is that what that, what it
Yep.
says there? G Extreme Pants for a total of $5,987.66. Do we have a motion to approve the purchase order?
So moved.
By Bill, second by Neil. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Chief.
And I don't think it's,
Thanks,
it's
Chief.
not snowing out there either.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yeah.
You holding it off?
And we were going to discuss our employee or employment transgender policy. And I think we voted to amend our employment manual and our, hiring and employment practices to not discriminate against transgendered people. And as a result of the discussion we had and our brief research, we've come up with some language to put in section 1.3, which is called Equal Employment Opportunity Policy. And I guess I might as well just read at least the relevant part. And basically it says it's the policy of the town to, to employ based on individual ability and job performance and without discrimination. And then the part that's been modified says, as on the basis of age, sex, race, color, marital status, familial status, physical or mental disability, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical condition, genetic status, veteran status, or any other legally protected status. And although we've already voted to make the change, it was conceptual and not reduced to writing. Oh, I guess I should also, well, that same language appears in a second section on harassment, which basically says that we don't tolerate any harassment, and it's for the same reason, or for the same personal characteristics. And so I guess I would ask that we vote to adopt the language as it's been drafted for our employment manual. Is that what we're?
Do we invite the person that?
Yes.
If she'd like to,
Yeah, prior to the vote, perhaps, or?
if you'd like to, comment, or,
It almost sounds like
You
it's a done deal. So I put something together very quickly
Oh.
today.
is it different than what I
No,
read?
not at all, not at all. It basically extolled the virtues and facts of adopting a policy such as what you've created and potentially extending that outwards. What I'd like, if I may?
Yeah, go right ahead, whatever you'd like to say.
So on January 1st, 1998, New Hampshire's law banning sexual orientation discrimination in employment, public accommodation, and housing came into effect. And the law explicitly protects people perceived to be gay. The Non-Discrimination Law defines sexual orientation as having or being perceived as having an orientation for heterosexuality, bisexuality, or homosexuality, but there were no similar protections for a person who is transgender within the state of New Hampshire. So a transgender person is not a lesbian or a gay person. Being gay or lesbian denotes a sexual orientation. Being transgender is about identification with a specific gender and in gender identity and self-expression. A transgender person could be heterosexual, they could be gay, they could be lesbian. Protections afforded to individuals who are gay or lesbian for sexual orientation do not adequately map to a person who is transgender. This opens up a plethora of possibilities for potential discrimination in the public sector. This would be include but not be limited to hotels and other accommodations, restaurants, and hospitals. The latter mention is of extreme potential importance, as there have historically been documented cases in this country in specific states where EMTs and hospitals have refused or delayed treatment to a person who was noted to have an anatomy that was different from their gender presentation. And in more than one case, this has led to a person's death. As a transgender woman, I stay under the radar by blending in as best as I can, yet I still worry that discrimination is a viable possibility and that it could lead to serious consequences in an extreme instance. I ask that the council consider adoption of a non-discrimination policy and to consider expanding the initiative taken here this evening for town personnel to extend it outward to the community at large. This as a statement that Plymouth, New Hampshire respects the potential gifts of the talents we each bring as unique individuals, each of us. It is an iteration to state that Plymouth, New Hampshire values what we can do, what we can add, and what accomplishments we can help yield for the community, regardless of whether they're male, female, black, white, based upon religion or their gender identity. A nay vote in passing a non-discrimination ordinance is an allowance by the town to state that it is perfectly acceptable to discriminate against a transgender person like myself simply on the basis of my external presentation. And in this country, a country that was defined as a place of opportunity for all, and a country that was settled by the Pilgrims in the hopes of founding new freedoms and religious freedoms, a country that was envisioned by the Constitution that all men were created equal, then a nay vote against a town non-discrimination ordinance that would equally protect all of its citizens is a vote against the very foundations by which the country was created. Portsmouth, Hanover, and Durham have successfully created and passed a non-discrimination ordinance, and I ask that the council give due consideration and respect to the possibility of creating not only a non-discrimination ordinance at the employee town level, but also as well at the greater town level itself. So not just the employee for municipal employees, but also for the town as well. I'm Kristen Bustani. Thank you.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
When you speak about a town ordinance to, apply to the town generally,
Yes.
is that something that other places have done?
Yes, actually, Portsmouth has passed it. That was over a year ago. Durham just passed it last week. Hanover has it passed, and I believe as well Dover's in the works right now.
Do you have any of those?
Portsmouth, I think you do have.
The Portsmouth one.
I have the Portsmouth one. I can certainly obtain the Durham one for you if you would like. That just went through. My friend Doug
What in
Marino just passed
substance?
that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do they say? I mean, they
Well,
say that.
That a person cannot be denied public accommodation simply upon their gender presentation. So that would include public places, businesses. I think right now it's set up for 6 or more employees. Businesses that have 6 or more employees cannot discriminate against hiring. That a customer cannot be denied service. This would apply to hospitals. This would apply to public areas such as libraries. And
Is there a state statute on this yet?
no. New Hampshire, there are quite a number of states right now that do have it passed. I believe the number was 17, and the District of Columbia. But New Hampshire, unfortunately, is the only one that doesn't. There are, to some degree, non-discrimination laws in place, to some degree, in 5 of the 6 New England states, but not in New Hampshire. We're the holdout on
And
that
aren't
one.
you pursuing legislative policy there?
I am. I've spoken in front of the Senate, and we're working at that level too. And we have backing too. We're working with many of the corporations that do business in New Hampshire that already have. My corporation that I work for is a large multinational corporation, and we have perfect policies in place for such things.
Yeah.
And we have a representative from Plymouth State University, but has the University System of New Hampshire pursued a policy as well?
Yes,
Okay.
they have, absolutely, yep. They've passed that. UNH has.
So is there going to be proposed legislation in the state this year?
It depends on economic climate and the economic and political climate, I should say, right now. Socio-politically, it's a little, we're trying to gauge how to manage that best, but we would like to, yes. So for now, what we're doing is trying to set precedent and showing that individual towns are taking this initiative, and that may set precedent going forward at the state level, is the hope.
Here, I thought we were done with you. Thought we
I
had
know,
this
you
taken
just
care
can't
of.
get rid of me.
You got another whole project for us here.
Yeah, I've got, yeah.
Well,
quite a
I
few
didn't look at the Portsmouth one, but I will. And we'll
Okay.
Well,
give
we
that some
could
thought.
consider studying it.
Yeah,
for
I
now.
think we should.
I really would appreciate that.
And
Thank
I
you.
wasn't trying to be smart. I was
Oh,
trying
no,
to be
no,
fun.
no, no, absolutely. It's really tough to get,
Sometimes.
it's tough to get rid of me, yeah. Yeah. And
All
I
right.
enjoy the opportunity to be able to speak to when I
Well,
can,
thank you for
so,
coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think we're gonna vote to adopt this, right?
Yep.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Any comments from anybody or thoughts? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Our employment manual is amended, as I read. And, sorry, Mike, to keep you waiting so long, but we would love to hear from you. Mike Courier.
I don't watch this on TV, so unless they come live, I don't know what's going on in town. Very interesting.
So we would like to talk to you about the skate park, I guess, and I think we have talked to you about this before, and we agreed that the select board would support the idea of the skate park property being deeded to the town, in large part for insurance purposes. It'll be under our insurance, and it'll relieve you of that burden. And I think what we didn't discuss, and what's come up since, I guess, is just who's going to be responsible for the skate park and how that will work. And I had a brief discussion outside with you the other night, and I know you were concerned about, whether you would still have the authority really to make the improvements there, and who would make the decisions about things and that sort of thing. So I guess that's in part what we're here to talk about.
Because what I'd like to see is I would like to see that the skate park of Plymouth board complete the project so the town has a completed park like the other ones you have in town. So my concern, we're going to have 3 more fundraisers, and one's going to be very large that'll raise a significant amount of money, and we wanted to make sure that there was not going to be any difficulty in putting that money towards the completion of the skate park. Now, we've been accepted Phase 2, and Phase 3 basically has been accepted by the planning board. Phase 3 would essentially be adding like a half pipe with a horseshoe back. It's like a half bowl, essentially, and it'd be in the right-hand corner down by the existing bowl that's there.
My favorite feature.
That would really complete the park. Right now, we have about $12,000 that we want to put features on top of the pad that was laid, and that's kind of the Phase 2 piece where you put quarter pipes down in the end, and you round it out towards the bowl, and then you put different features on top, and that would be the completion of Phase 2. But I've talked to the board. We would like to continue. We have 3 fundraisers that do fairly well. One will do very well, and we want to be able to make sure that money goes towards the completion of the park. I wanted to put 4 more benches in there, the nice snowboard benches that we had built. We would like to put 4 more in there, and we've had a chairlift, double chairlift donated as a seating feature that we put up on the viewing area with a picnic table, and essentially that's it to finish it up, round it out, make it look good. So my question was, if it's deeded to the town prior to us completing it, how do we go about that?
And do you anticipate, would you see your board sort of dissipating after the construction was completed and the town taking it over entirely?
Yeah.
Or-
I mean, the thing is, you're going to have a concrete park. As far as upkeep, it's very, very minimal, but you also have the ability to run events and raise money to do anything to the park you might want to.
Do you think there's a chance of keeping the board intact even after it's completed for the purpose of arranging, like planning things like that, or?
Yeah, I would say so. What I had originally kind of in my thinking was that one of us might join the Park and Rec board in the town, so there would be that connection there to help and just make sure everything, kind of goes the way we'd hoped it would go, and that to be there to be part of that. I don't see a lot of expense down there once we've got this completed. And the whole intention in the beginning was to not have the town spend a dime on anything. That's why we stayed private nonprofit for so long, as we wanted to complete that.
I know it's been a long process. Sharon, this sounds like something that you might be able to help with. In other words, there's gonna be some sort of, completion of his project, I think after the deeding, so we're gonna have that conveyance. We're gonna have to have some sort of setup by which the board is allowed, is, I guess, permitted to maintain some authority there and to finish the work and that sort of thing, and then,
Right, once it gets hopefully under the auspices of the town, then you really don't have site plan review per se, but it's just kind of a pro forma thing, sort of like PSU presented the other night. If that's
well,
the
I think he's already got the phase 2 and 3 approved in concept, don't
Yeah.
you?
Well, 2 and 3.
Two.
Yeah,
Oh,
but,
2,
but the
okay.
3, we wouldn't have to go through the full meeting for phase 3, as I understand.
Not if the town owned it, you wouldn't have to
Yeah.
formally.
Yeah.
Right. Because the zoning doesn't, the whole site plan process doesn't apply to government entities, of which this would be a
Mhm.
part.
So are there additional steps that need to be taken for the town to own it? Or, because then, we ended up going back to the planning board, with the conservation commission.
Yeah, that's right. The planning board, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah, they
The planning
blessed
board
it.
did give official endorsement by motion to the town's acquisition of this as a gift.
Are there any further steps to be taken, or?
Well, the Conservation Commission has to come in, but it has to go before a public hearing. I think that's the final step. I mean, the whole planning aspect of it is over here. It's kind of an addendum to getting it approved
So does
by the board. Your board.
Mike or someone have to go before the Conservation Commission and ask for a blessing, an endorsement?
Yeah, we've been in contact with Lisa Donner, back and forth. I offered to show her, any of the information that we had from the initial subdivision, which, took that lot out so it could be donated separately from the other parcel. And she was going to stop by and I guess got hung up or whatever, but I believe Kathy said they have a meeting, they being
16th?
Conservation, on the 16th. So hopefully they'll bring that up as an agenda item on their behalf, because they're aware of this whole public hearing coming down on the 22nd, and the wheels are in motion. So
let's just suppose Conservation Commission endorses it. We have a public hearing, doesn't seem like there's any objection to it. I don't think there will be. I would be surprised. But it sounds to me like there's some sort of transition period from the time that the town actually gets a deed.
right, that's where it would
Until-
be official.
The board that's running it now either fades away or takes on sort of a different role, which might be event planning or something like that. I'm just wondering if we could have, it sounds to me like the sort of thing where maybe there should be some sort of written understanding or agreement, or,
Oh,
yeah, sort of a-
for your own, mechanisms
just for,
to be functioning.
do you think that's something you could help with?
Sure.
I think that would be
You
great.
mean based on the premise, you mean as the transitional period, or on the premise that once it's all official, how it works, or both?
Both.
With oversight, both?
Yeah, well, I think it would be really nice. I don't know, your whole board may be tired. I don't know, it's been a long road, I know, but I'm just wondering if there are either those people or other people who might, it seems to me like the kind of thing that's gonna require some ongoing organizational input in order to be successful. You probably, you schedule some kind of events, you have hours, you have,
What do the other parks around here do?
well, I was thinking you would, like Fox Park is quiet, that's where you go to
Right.
relax.
Right.
That's not what these kids are going there for, they're going there to have fun, right?
Right. It's their
So
kind
I'm
of
just saying, it's,
relaxation.
I don't know, it sounds to me like the kind of thing that requires more ongoing management than Fox Park probably does. And I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying that, but it's kind of a quiet place,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not.
Is there an oversight committee for Fox Park?
I don't know, is there?
Or
There's the Friends of Fox Park.
Oh, there is, yeah.
what do they do? Or,
That's Larry. I know they fundraise.
okay.
Like, does the skate park have policy or bylaws that would apply to the operational stuff, not just philosophical stuff in place? You have any documents to that effect?
Well, we've got we have our bylaws and all that.
Right.
You're a
Right.
non-profit organization.
We're a private nonprofit.
But
yeah.
she's talking about, that's just the boilerplate, like
Right.
when we have meetings, who are the officers, but I think she was talking more about hours and,
Yeah,
Well,
something to kind
rules
of jump
and-
off.
Well,
with.
those rules and hours are posted down there. That was part of the insurance deal that we had to have.
So that's about the extent of it.
You don't have
though.
any
It's posted.
documents to that effect?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, in order to get the insurance, certain things they required, we had to have, they skate at their own risk because we
Right.
had unsupervised.
No, I'm just thinking about trying to craft a future policy,
Yeah.
if you will, operational policy.
Yeah,
Is it always
know.
unsupervised? No,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
yep. We had to close, open it and close it on a daily basis, but that was the extent of it. We paid about 11 grand a year to keep it open, so.
Yeah. Have there ever been any injuries there of
There
any
was, yeah.
significance?
Yeah, well, I think there was a kid that broke both his bones in the arm. Experienced skater that slid back into the bowl and put his hand down and broke those, but he was back down there the next season skating. I think the kid did hit his head and had an issue there, but he had no helmet on, and I saw him there the next year, and he had no helmet on, and so you can't really, you can't
Yeah,
deal with
so
people
there's
that
been-
just don't make good choices, so. And he was 20-some-odd years old. But no, I think the police were called once, and I think to rescue a muskrat, and I think the fire department had to rescue a skunk, I think.
In the bowl?
They were in the bowl. Couldn't get out. So we had absolutely no claims in the 6-7 years. We had no claims with the insurance company, ever. And when you look at the statistics, when you go into the research, it's one of the safer sports. It's what the crazy stuff of the kids that go out and they do the urban stuff where you're going off rails and roofs and everything else. These kids really, in order to learn how to do it, you watch them go to this ramp to ramp we have, and the younger kids, skate up it and then jump off until they feel confident to go further, and they learn how to kind of fall and roll, and you get abrasions and skin knees and things like that. But for the most part, you don't see a lot of injuries in that. Of course, we always recommend pads, helmets and pads and that sort of thing. So,
Well, maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit. I just thought,
kind of the way what I wanted to be able to do was be able to transition it, to the town where kids could get in there and skate as soon as possible. We're probably going to do we'd like to do the building of the features in April when the weather's right. We've got people already set up to do that, and they would put that up. Kids are going to be chomping a bit to get in there, and we're going to be, calling the police or whatever to keep them out of there unless it's open. And I think that if it could be open as is, probably, who knows, it could be next week when we have all the snow gone, but in mid to late March, and then so it's operating, but allowing us to go in and build, would take probably a week in April to complete the Phase 2 piece. And then we're looking at a fundraiser in March. We're looking at two in the fall, actually. And hoping that the monies from that would allow us to build the rest of that piece. Now, once it's complete, you're looking at a concrete park. And with the maintenance on that, we haven't done any maintenance on it since it was built. So it's concrete. You go in and there's around the bowl, you need to replace some of that stuff every now and then, but you do preventative maintenance, and it's really not that extensive. I would like to be able to keep somebody involved, maybe in your board for Parks and Rec, to be that person that would kind of make that determination when things had to be done. We could run fundraisers in there, raise the money for it, and then just make sure the upkeep is there. There'll be a little grass and whatnot, trim out in front, but Park and Rec, I'm sure, would just send a couple of guys down there to do it once in a while, and you're not really looking at a lot of things to be replaced. I mean, even the benches are all in concrete, they're not going anywhere, pretty solid.
I have a question.
So you might want to maintain like a group like the Friends of Fox Park just to do
Yeah.
the fundraising or,
Yeah.
see a need and then address it and then, maybe partner with Parks and Rec and.
Then you'd have some input.
Yeah.
You could structure some input with the Park and Rec then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that artistic endeavor part of your
That's-
purview?
Well, it was there, and, I had worked out in East LA for a while back when I was younger, and I saw that, and thought, geez, looks like a graffiti park to me. And it's just taken off. I mean, it's the only free walls in the state of New Hampshire, and probably maybe even in New England, who knows? And people come, I got a call from my father last week, whose kids are on vacation from Massachusetts, and his kids do artwork, and he wanted to know, is that going to be okay? Do we have to come in there and pay a fee or whatever? And I should have said yes, but I said, no, it's open and free to everybody. And it's really not been there's been no issues there. I mean, a little bit of trash, we go in there and pick it up and whatnot, but really it's been a great plus, I think. A lot of people use it, and a lot of people take photographs of it. And then, of course, the BMX pump track that goes around it was put up by the biking folks, and that's just kind of a cool addition to it there.
Very good.
So, back to Sharon for a minute. I don't understand exactly what this is going to
Well,
entail,
I'm
but,
happy to do anything. I think we have to establish under what auspices it is and then see what's in place, and then, I can always wordsmith something for anyone.
yeah, I was thinking maybe you could think about how that transitions and what I'm not sure exactly how that works, like we're gonna own it, so I guess we're responsible from, the minute the deed goes on record, basically. So,
Yeah, I would, if it were
and
me,
then
I would double check with Attorney Radigan on when the demarcation is, but I would think as soon as the deed's filed.
right. So assuming it's then, I guess we need a mechanism to allow Mike's group to continue on with some authority to complete the improvements at least.
Yeah, see if Rec and Park has bylaws about their board. I mean, it's like, who's got
Yeah, that would
the
be
different
interesting to
entities,
know.
what have you got for structure, and
Sure.
do they mesh it all?
Yeah, our board's question was, if we go out and fundraise, $10,000, $20,000, and we want it to go towards the park, does that have to be accepted by the town, first, and then?
That's a good question.
But then does it still go to the skate park, or does it go to the other parks, or, we really want to do.
Yeah, you want to dedicate it to.
Yeah, and we want to get it done right.
See
If
if
we've
you
already established a group like Friends of Fox Park, they must have some kind of like a authority and a mandate to like dedicate funds specifically for Fox Park or.
I
So
would
it might-
think.
it might already be
Yeah,
done.
yeah, but we weren't sure, we wanted to
Yeah.
get that answer before we, but
Well, I
that's.
think we can arrange
Yeah.
that occur.
What's your tax status of 501c3?
No, actually, the 501c3 we come under is the Rotary,
okay.
Plymouth Rotary Foundation. We're a private nonprofit, but we're not a 501c3. It was cleaner, just having the Rotary,
Right.
money goes in, money comes out, it's all documented, and, keeps it simple.
Yeah.
We'll hammer something out.
So, yeah, we'll work on something and we got to get the Conservation Commission, and then we've got a public hearing scheduled, do we?
22nd.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I won't be here the 22nd, I'll be in the Bahamas, but
We can have the meeting there.
I think that's a good idea, but we'll have Rich Gowan and some other folks will be
okay,
here for
that'd be
that.
great.
And will you require anything more from like Jack McCormick or Alex or?
Well, a deed at some point, I guess.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna jump on that tomorrow because I don't believe that's been completed. Nothing's done until the paperwork's done, so.
Yeah, get us a draft deed, that would be a good, maybe we can have that, tell them that we need it for the public hearing. That'll give them a deadline.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is televised, right?
Yep,
Alex, if you're watching.
that's probably the one you got to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell them I said that. All right,
We good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I think it's been on the table an awful long time. I think it's time
Yeah.
that we help Mike wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
No, he's been very patient.
No, yes, and
Yeah.
and for a volunteer
It's been a long
organization
road.
to take on a project like this.
I'm gonna hear a sigh of relief down at my house, I think.
All the way, yeah, from my house to your house.
Yeah, yeah.
She's in Baltimore right now, and she's wanted me to call her immediately after this to see what happened, so.
Tell her we changed our minds.
Yeah. I think we have to go back to square one, honey. Then, well, you're adding rooms at your house. I could live there, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Yeah, come on down.
So, but
All right.
thank you, Paul, for that, and I thank you all. I appreciate the efforts. I mean, you've been nothing but behind us the whole way, and it is going to be it's really the first park in the town for the older kids.
Yeah.
And, I think it's great. Those
I do
kids
too.
have a place to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Thank
Great
you
thing.
guys
Win-win.
for-
yeah.
For, getting it done and getting it in the position it's in now.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll tell you, there were a lot of sleepless nights, I'll tell you, thinking, how am I going to raise that money? But it's worked out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I skipped over the committee reports element of this agenda, so does anyone have anything to report? I know you said you had some, but
Well,
didn't bring it tonight.
I had it last week, our last meeting.
Yeah. Okay,
And we skipped over.
right. All right, anybody else?
Planning board, do the work on master plan questionnaire and skateboard park.
Yeah. John?
No, I
Nope.
didn't have anything.
Yep, me either, so. All right,
Public comments, perhaps.
oh yeah, public comments, perhaps? Yes, sir.
Sure. Pretty simple. When I listened to Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, it made me think that, is there anything that frustrates the general public more than a road being dug up for one public entity doing a project, and then later on, someone digging up to do a public project, or you dig up a road and you don't finish and something doesn't get done. So it just makes me think, whenever I see it, it frustrates me, and I'm sure general public. So as we're working on maybe say this probably to bring this up, when we're starting with our new residence hall, it's very important that the college work with the town and went to the planning board, of course. But I just asked you to put your thinking caps on as that project starts. Is there something on Merrill or Langdon Street that the town has been thinking about or wanting to do? Because it's always more cost effective to tie in and have people work together. So I encourage you to look at what the Plymouth Water Village Sewer is doing and saying, how do we take advantage of it, even if we don't have the money? Because if we know it always costs more later. But more importantly, on the project we're working on, if we can ever work together to make things happen to save money for the taxpayers, let's do it. So just wanted to share that.
And I'm
You don't
assuming
have to
that
know it now, but just
I'm assuming everybody knows that Frank's representing PS.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, no.
And may I put an addendum on the planning board report for the fact that Steve Taxar, I'm not sure of his title, but presented the plans for the new residence hall, and that we just made reference to. And it's a rather significantly large building, and it's like 150 rooms, something like that. That would accommodate like 300 people.
little, yeah, 300 to 350 beds. And of course, when we ever do that project, we work with the fire department, we work with water and sewer all the time, and we make sure everything's happening. But there might be things that are missing, and so it's always important that people say, how do we take advantage of this opportunity to get other things done?
Yeah.
That would save money than doing it separate on your own later.
Yep, an aggravation. Right.
Yep.
We did speak specifically the other night when Steve was presenting to the board, Frank, about the possibility there's a short gap in sidewalks, so this would be certainly the time because of the increased pedestrians, and also our town road agent and myself, just definitely wanted to make sure that the runoff was addressed.
Yep.
So the whole tie-in with additional drainage or whatever, I mean, not anything, just not sewer drainage or sewer piping or anything like that. So that has to be looked at.
Yep. Engineers working on that.
Yeah.
Want to be as sustainable as possible.
Right. and that's good with infiltration, but it's got to discharge
Yep,
somewhere,
exactly.
and that's what we're concerned about on the town streets.
And is it really true that the runoff, the proposed runoff, is actually tied into South Main Street?
Whatever works with Plymouth Water and Sewer.
I'm kind of kidding.
Oh,
you.
not, well, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. I get the joke, sorry.
Don't put the stormwater into the sewer, okay? Other public comment? If there's nothing else,
Do
Paul?
we need to go into non-public
Oh, okay.
personnel?
Well, we'll go into a non-public session and excuse you folks. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.